everyone, welcome back for another video of the day. Today we're just going to look at some problems from from the day 7 homework from Unit 8 because there were a couple of questions about things and I wanted to make sure that I clarified everything. So the first thing with day 7's homework is if you look at problem number 3, it asks you what the percentile is. So that percent probability you've been calculating is the percentile. So I'm going to walk you through this one just to make sure you're okay with it. So I want the probability that, I want to find out what that probability is for the random variable x being less than 23.9 inches, okay? So just like you've done with the other problems, let's come over and let's make our picture. So this would be 22.8. All right, now let me show you a really quick trick with this. What I do with my calculator is I take 22.8 and I add 1.1, I add plus 1.1, plus 1.1. Now what that gives me are all of the standard deviations that go on the right-hand side. So I've got 23.9, 25, and 26.1. Now I do the same thing the other way. I do 22.8 minus 1.1, minus 1.1, minus 1.1, and that'll give me 21.7, 20.6, and 19.5. Okay. So I'm looking for below 23.9. So I'm looking for all of that probability. So that probability is going to be pretty big. That percentile is going to be pretty big. So if you were putting it into the z-score formula, you want z is less than 23.9 minus 22.8 over 1.1. Okay, so let's go to our calculator. We're going to go to our distro menu, pick CDF, not PDF. Our lower value, since we're doing less than, that's infinity, so we're just going to pick a really huge negative number, like huge. Then my upper value is going to be 23.9, and my U is 22.8, and my standard deviation is 1.1. 0.1, not 11, and then I'm going to hit paste, and that's going to give me 0.8413, which is 84.13%, which is about the 84th percentile. Okay? That's all a percentile is, so try not to freak out about it too much. Now the other question that kind of gave people a little bit of a pause was, I believe, problem number 4. So problem number 4 is asking you if someone reports to be in the 16th percentile, what score would that person have? Okay, so it's asking you to go backwards. So if you look at your distro menu, you have an inverse normal option. And what you're going to do is you're going to change your area from 16, because it doesn't understand that, to 0.16. Your mean for this data is 110, and your standard deviation is 25. So again, I'm doing inverse norm, and I am giving it 0.16, 110, and 25. Okay, so that's what goes in. I'll hit paste, enter, and that tells me that the person's score would have been an 85.1. So what this is telling me is what X is. So versus giving me Z or X bar or anything else, it's telling me that X equals about 85.1. Now, I have personally given a Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, and you can't get a decimal value. They're all whole numbers. But when we're calculating inverse normal, we will do that, okay? Now, when we're doing the same thing with 97.5, we'll do x equals inverse norm, and we'll change that to a decimal. Yes, I already know there's a decimal in it, but you gotta divide by 100. And that's how they're coming up with the answer. Now, the one that no one has asked me about yet is number 5, and I'm gonna assume that you will have a question. Now, if you have not tried number 5, please pause this video and then try number 5. So number 5, what they've told you is the following information. So we have a loaf of bread that has a z-score of negative 1.28. And they have told me what the weight of the bread is. So 15.34 minus x bar all over sigma. So this is the same thing as negative 1.28. Sigma equals 15.34 minus x bar. So that's the first equation. Now you'll notice they didn't tell me the mean and the standard deviation, and right now I can't solve that. But it's okay, because they have a second equation, and the second equation says there's a z-score of 0.84 equals a equals a bread weight of 16.3 minus x bar over sigma, which is 0.84 times sigma equals 16.31 minus x bar. Now that's 2 equations and 2 unknowns. So again, if you have not solved this, you should stop right here and see if you can solve this equation with 2 unknowns. Perhaps you might want to use elimination or substitution. So if I solve this problem, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the x bar over to this side. Then I'm going to move the sigma term over to the other side as well. And then I'm going to take this whole expression and substitute it in over here. Now do be careful with signs because it is subtracting those 2 terms, so you have to do 15.34, you gotta subtract that, and you have to subtract the 1.28 sigma. Okay, now I'm gonna use my calculator to put those decimals together. So I have 16.31 minus 15.34. So I've got 0.84 sigma equals 0.97 minus 1.28 sigma. I'm going to put my sigmas together. So 0.84 plus 1.28. That is 2.12 sigma equals 0.97. And then I'm going to divide both sides. So I'll have 0.97 divided by 2.12. So that tells me that my standard deviation is about 4.46. Okay, so now that I know that, I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to substitute into that. So x bar equals 15.34 plus 1.28 times 0.46. Okay, so this is strictly calculated from here on out. If I could just type the right numbers. And so I end up with an x bar of about 15.93. Okay, so that one was a little bit harder. Yeah, I get that. That's algebra, a little harder than what you might have expected, but not too bad. Now, I did this one with substitution. You could also stack the equations on top of each other and do elimination. So hopefully that's going to finish out your questions. Okay, so a few of you have also asked me about what am I supposed to do when I turn my stuff in? Okay, so you got 2 choices. You could either have done your homework on notebook paper. You could put, this is day whatever, day 3 practice, or day 3 explorer, and put your name. And then I can put all my information down below it. Second option is if you have access to a printer, you might have printed everything out and done all your work on a piece of paper. Your choice, whichever one you'd like to do. Now, I was asked, how are you supposed to turn this in? Well, what I'm going to ask you to do next Tuesday is I want you to turn in as soon as you finish the first 5 days of stuff. So that's notes, that's practice, that's everything. So once you've tried all the first 5 days, I want you to scan it in using one of the handy scanning type programs that you can get on your phone. Now, I always use one called CamScan. CamScan. That one is free and it's on Apple phones, but there are tons of these. Plus, I know several of you can scan stuff in using your home printers, however you'd like to do it. And once you have all 5 days done, I'm going to ask you to take a picture, a scan of those first 5 days and email me those first 5 days. Okay? So that's all I'm expecting you to do as far as turning it in. If you prefer to turn it in to me by day, that's fine as well. Just make sure that on whatever you're doing, if you're doing it on paper, you put your name, and if you're doing it on a printout, put your name there, okay? So that I have your name on all of your documents, just in case perhaps, you don't know, you email it from your parents or your buddy or somebody else. That way I have your stuff. Either way though, I'm hoping that you all are having a good time with your family. If you're not, do what I do and go take a walk. Either way though, have a good day, and today is Friday for me, so I hope that you all have a good weekend.